Good evening. The attack on the Amarnath Yatra is the crossing of a red line. Make no mistake about this. There has not been an attack on the Yatra in the last 17 years. That changed last night. Now it appears that the mastermind, the chief executor of this attack, is a Pakistani national, Abu Ismail, the South Kashmir commander of the Lashkar-e-Taiba. Some tough questions need to be asked, ladies and gentlemen. How many more attacks from Pakistan will we have to tolerate? It seems like Pakistan refuses to mend its ways even after the surgical strikes. So how should we respond now? And how long will the central government and the BJP continue to defend Mehbooba Mufti, whose government, and it's become painfully clear to anybody who watches Kashmir, that the Mehbooba Mufti government has failed in its basic duty to protect its own citizens. It's time for Face Off. Terror from Pakistan continues to singe India. The Lashkar-e-Taiba and Hizbul Mujahideen terrorists massacre 7 Amarnath Yatra pilgrims in Anantnag in South Kashmir. Their families are crying out for justice. How should the Narendra Modi government respond? Is it time to once and for all cripple Pakistan's terror factories?
आपने फिर उसके बाद भगाई गाड़ी?
उसके बाद मैंने गाड़ी भगाई. मेरे साथ जो बाजू में कैबिन में बैठे थे उनको 3 गोली लगी है.
He is the hero of Amarnath, the bus driver Salim Sheikh Ghafoor Bai, whose presence of mind saved at least 50 lives. He continued to drive. He did not stop despite bullets raining all around him. CNN News 18 salutes this brave Indian. And we'll be putting those questions to our debaters tonight on our debating panel. Major General Rajesh Arya here in our studios, Colonel retired DPK Pillai, research fellow at the IDSA, Shabnam Lone, senior lawyer, GVL Narasimha Rao, spokesperson of the BJP, Sanjay Jha, spokesperson of the Congress, Gauhar Gilani, political commentator, joining us from Srinagar tonight, and joining us from Islamabad will be Lieutenant Colonel Shafqat Saeed, defence expert. Well, we'll get to our debate in just a couple of minutes. Here are the other headlines that we're tracking this Tuesday night on Face Off. The Pakistan Army top brass feels that Nawaz Sharif's continuance as Prime Minister has become untenable after the incriminating JIT report. The Army would prefer Planning Minister Ehsan Iqbal to take over. Malayalam superstar Dileep is charged for gang rape and sexual assault of an actress earlier this year. The Film Actors Association suspends him from the body. Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan tweets that his government will show zero tolerance to crimes against women. And will he, won't he? The BCCI is yet to officially announce who's going to be Team India's next coach. Uncertainty persists despite media reports that Ravi Shastri has bagged the job. It is seen as a symbol of Kashmiriyat, the Amarnath Yatra, which unites communities that are distanced by strife and bad blood. But Pakistan and Pakistan-based terror groups have made a victim of this terror plague 7 pilgrims who were massacred and 19 others who were injured in the very constituency of the Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister Mehbooba Mufti, Anantnag. The surgical strikes back last September have not crippled the terror state that is Pakistan. Attacks are continuing to bleed India. There is an attack virtually on a daily basis in Kashmir. Is it time now to escalate the military offensive? The mood on the street here in this country is clear, and it is one. There needs to be justice. There needs to be revenge. Enough is enough. The onus now is on the Modi government. How is it going to respond?
It was considered a symbol of brotherhood and Kashmiriyat. The Amarnath Yatra, where the Hindu community was welcomed with open arms by the Kashmir Valley. Yet the scourge of Pakistani terror has shattered the frail 15-year-long peace. Lashkar-e-Toiba terrorists gunned down 7 pilgrims, injuring 19 others.
आनंदनाथ 2 किलोमीटर बाकी था, उस जगह पे हमला हुआ अंधेरे में। इतनी फायरिंग जबरदस्त उसकी फायरिंग चली, 50 से 60 गोलियां चली। मैं चलता ही रहा, मिलिट्री कैंप मेरे को जहाँ मिला 2 किलोमीटर के बाद मिलिट्री कैंप में रुकाया।
The attack took place in Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister Mahbooba Mufti's own constituency. She visited the injured at the hospital and in the strongest words said that the attack had tainted the name of Muslims and Kashmir.
आज का जो वाकया हुआ है इससे हम सब कश्मीरियों के लोगों के सर शर्म से झुक गए।
Pakistan's hand in the attack is undeniable. Investigations have revealed that the Lashkar-e-Toiba South Kashmir commander Abu Muhammad Ismail planned the attack, a Pakistani national. Sources say he was supported by the local Hizbul Mujahideen cadre. The incident has also exposed a major security lapse. CNN News 18 accessed a letter from 25th June by the Inspector General of Police of Kashmir, which highlights an intelligence input that the yatra would be targeted. The opposition has not spared the Modi government.
इसके बारे में पहले से हमें इतलात थी, ऐसी बात नहीं है कि आतंकवादी इन पे हमला करने की कोशिश करेंगे। कहीं ना कहीं सरकार की इसमें कमी रही है।
अगर 3 हमले एक के बाद एक होते हैं तो सुरक्षा में चूक कहां हुई, कौन जिम्मेवार है? इन सब बातों का जवाब आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी को देश को देना चाहिए।
Under fire, the centre scrambled with high-level meetings with the National Security Advisor as well as officials of the Intelligence Bureau and the Research and Analysis Wing. The Amarnath Yatra will continue and security agencies have decided to monitor it on a day-to-day basis.
We cannot allow a handful of mischievous people or handful of perpetrators of terrorism to hold the entire nation to ransom.
Our neighbor, who is abetting, aiding, funding, training terrorism, is encouraging Lashkar-e-Toiba and all these organizations. This has to be condemned.
The Lashkar-e-Toiba has bled India once again. The army's surgical strike on Pakistani terror camps does not seem to have crippled the terror factory. A clear reassessment of India's counter-terror strategy is the need of the hour. But how will the Modi government respond to this dastardly attack on peaceful pilgrims? That's the big debate tonight on Face Off at 9.
How many more terror attacks do we have to tolerate? How many more Indians have to die before we realize that it's time to put an end to this once and for all? What should the Modi government's response be, and where does the buck stop? Joining us on our talking point here in our studios, Major General Rajesh Arya, defence expert, Colonel retired DPK Pillai, research fellow with the IDSA, GVL Narasimha Rao, spokesperson of the BJP, Sanjay Jha, spokesperson of the Congress, Shabnam Lone, senior lawyer, Gauhar Gilani, political commentator, joining us from Srinagar, and will be joined a little later on in the program by Shafqat Saeed from Islamabad. GVL, how many more attacks, sir? How many more Indians have to die before we put an end to this once and for all? We thought the attack on the brigade headquarters in Uri was a red line. There were surgical strikes in response to it. It seems like Pakistan is refusing to mend its ways. The mood in this nation today, sir, is one of revenge, is one that seeks justice. And we continue to just issue statements of Kadi Ninda. I think the time for Kadi Ninda is over. The time for Kadi action is now. GVL.
Yeah, Zakka, there has been very, very strict action at the borders, at the LOC, I think there has been an offensive approach that has been followed, but we only debate when such incidents happen, and the whole nation certainly is shocked by the incident. The whole nation grieves the killing of many of our own fellow citizens. But certainly if you look at the last 2-3 years, or rather last 5 years, I think in the last couple of years there have been severe actions against the terrorists, their sponsors. I can only give you statistics which speak for themselves. In this year alone, 92 terrorists have been killed so far in the last 6 months. Whereas in the entire year in 2012 and 13, that number was less than 70. So certainly there is a no-nonsense approach that has been followed by the forces.
But GVL, the attacks are not stopping.
Forces have been given up.
No, GVL, the attacks are not stopping.
But
No, may I humbly add, GVL, one second, may I humbly add, those statistics mean nothing to the families of the 7 people who died. Why don't we try telling them that 90 terrorists have been killed in the last 6 months? It's going to mean nothing to them. These attacks need to stop.
I know, but you see, this is an act. You see, the terrorists, Syed Salahuddins of the world, Hizbul Mujahideen, they are all under pressure. They are all running scared, and certainly they will attempt to stage such attacks. This is an attack that ought to have been averted. But let's not kid ourselves to assume that the terrorists will not really try and fight back. No. And this is a battle that we are fighting. Our security forces are in a position to handle this.
Now,
we've given them a free hand.
Now we have information.
But I think the politics of this should stop in this country.
Now we have information.
The media also should examine this
now we have information. Now we have information that the main suspect is a man called Abu Ismail. He's the South Kashmir Lashkar-e-Taiba commander. Major General, you know, the attack on the brigade headquarters was a red line that was crossed. There was the surgical strikes in response to that. This is yet another red line. We haven't had an attack on the Amarnath Yatra in the last 17 years. There was a sort of an unsaid understanding in Kashmir that even the terrorists will not target the Yatra, because the Yatra is so built in to the syncretic composite culture of Kashmir, and yet one more red line has been crossed last night. How many more red lines need to be crossed?
Good evening, Zakka. Before I answer you, first of all, it is a very sad incident of yesterday, having lost so many pilgrims. My condolences to the families who lost their kins. It was one of the most cowardly attack, and as we have been discussing for a couple of months now, unless until we have an extremely comprehensive and integrated counter-terrorism policy in India, particularly against Pakistan, I am afraid we will face number of red lines crossing in times to come.
No, I mean, what is the worth of a red line being crossed if it's going to be crossed every 6 months? It happened in September last year. It's happening now. How many more red lines need to be crossed? How many more Indians have to die before we put an end to this once and for all?
It is a total, lack of integration and a comprehensive policy on fighting terrorism. You cannot fight a terrorism in a piecemeal manner. You have to have a long-term strategy. You cannot change strategies every year or with every change of government or change of commands in the security setup. Unfortunately, we have lacked that.
Why don't we have such a unified approach to terror? Leave the politics aside, but at least the security agencies. There were some basic mistakes that were made yesterday as far as this vehicle is concerned. Yes. I mean, we'll play out the soundbite of the driver. He said the reason he got separated from the rest of the vehicles, his bus got separated from the rest of the vehicles, was because there was a puncture. I find it unbelievable that the rest of the vehicles in the convoy did not know that one of the buses that was coming behind had a puncture and was left and was cut off and was basically becoming a sitting duck for an attack like this.
For me, this is my opinion. I think this was clearly an act of desperation on part of proxies on behalf of Pakistan, because it's definitely Yatra is one area which is never touched. In fact, even Burhan Wani had assured the Yatris that he is going to protect them, and livelihoods of a lot of people depend on that. And it's been a tradition not to harm Yatris. But this was clearly an act perpetrated, because if you look at it, the number of terrorists that have been killed in the past year, the number. This won't have happened possible without the support of the local population. So this clearly is a design executed here in this area, but planned in Rawalpindi. What you need to understand is I need to have a different perspective completely on what our approach to terror has been. You know that 1947, 2 states were born. One was born out of insecurity, and in 71 the state was divided. You know, you had an independent Bangladesh, and India has continued on the path of progress. We are differentially on 2 different equations completely, like India and Pakistan are 2. Now this state exists on a theory that India is out to destroy it, and that justifies the existence of the Pakistani army. And the Pakistani army has to create an enemy within India, whereas India has been steadily following policies which is meant for our, and you can see that happening in all its, and the response to terror has always been measured. It's never been, and that explains the number of casualties that we've been taking on our own sides. You know, you had that school attack in Pakistan, where you had 100 people killed the next day. So either these guys had all the addresses of these people, or you know, they just bombarded people. Whereas India doesn't believe in that. India has a policy. When they recalibrated their policy of bleeding India by 1,000 cuts, and then they started these pinpricks that, and these are clearly this 1,000 cuts that they wanted to. Now Uri attack was a red line, and here we've been tolerating that, like we said, Kadi Ninda and everything, but the status quo was altered in the cross-border, trans-border raid that we carried out. Now that was a very clear message.
No, what should be the response now? This is the first time in 17 years that the Yatra has been targeted. What will be the response now?
The response is like, see, what is at stake here is the Indian state versus the Pakistani state. I can assure you, it's like the Nazi regime. They are on a downward spiral here. They have their own proxies turning against them. So it's not like the Pakistani state is like the best of welfare measures and everything. Their policies have failed everywhere.
No, but I also want to bring in the rest of the panelists, and I'll go to Shabnam Lone on this. You know, Shabnam Lone, even in this attack, the main mastermind, the chief executor is this man named Abu Ismail, the Pakistani national who's the Lashkar South Kashmir commander. But he was apparently aided by 3 others who are from the Hizbul Mujahideen, who are Kashmiri boys. What sort of azadi is it that kills pilgrims, unarmed pilgrims, who are there on a religious trip? I mean, what sort of liberation is it that justifies the killing of Hindu pilgrims? In the name of what jihad is this, Shabnam Lone?
Today I agree with you, Zakka. Zakka, I am dumbfounded. I am extremely sorry, and I am deeply, deeply saddened that my valley of intense grief had to see this bloodbath and massacre of these yatris. Amarnath Yatra is the symbol of harmony of Kashmir. It was actually found by a Muslim shepherd boy. And we have had a tradition of welcoming the yatris with open arms. Kashmir is in grief. And I mean it, Kashmir is in grief for all those 5 women and 2 men who lost their lives. You came to the valley of sages and seers for a spiritual journey. We owe it to you. We are deeply, deeply sorry that you lost your lives.
No, they shouldn't have. Shabnam Lone, they shouldn't have.
It is a valley of sages
no, one second.
I would
I think, you know, as much as we are all appalled and aghast at what has happened, the buck needs to stop somewhere. And if it's the political leadership, then it has to stop at the political leadership. I don't know why and how GVL Narasimha Rao and the BJP can continue to defend Mehbooba Mufti. How long? Isn't it plain as daylight?
How long can you
isn't it plain as daylight that this government cannot continue in office? It's untenable. They have failed in their basic duty, that is to protect their citizens.
Yes.
No, Zakka, you cannot carry on defending terrorists in this country.
That it is
who is defending terrorists? Who is defending terrorists, GVL? I'm saying finish it once and for all. Let's get done with this damn thing once and for all. And whatever it is that you want, GVL,
Congress leaders,
1.25 billion people are with you. Let's end this once and for all. Instead of having a major terror attack every 6 months.
It sounds very hollow. It sounds very hollow, Zakka. It sounds very hollow to me, because a lot of people who are shedding crocodile tears do not have a word to speak against Burhan Wani. Ask Shabnam Lone, does she call Burhan Wani a terrorist or not? I think, why does Congress leaders, why do they go and call Burhan Wani?
Don't ever
why did
doubt
they want
it.
to have a dialogue with
I
him?
come from a very secular culture. And when I said that I am deeply grieved, don't ever say that these are crocodile tears.
You call the army chief a street
Please
gunda.
don't say that, GVL.
And you want to now rally behind them? You have not allowed, you have not stood by your own security forces. This is the time to question all those people who have actually spoken against your own forces.
Shabnam Lone,
they're responsible for lowering their morale.
Shabnam Lone,
you can't
have on the one hand,
on a daily basis.
No, you can't on the one hand say this is a strike on the heart of Kashmir, the strike on the Amarnath Yatra, and on the same hand say that, you know, there needs to be compensation to the man who was tied on the bonnet of a jeep. The State Human Rights Commission is recommending a compensation for him.
Okay.
I mean, you can't have it both ways.
Zakka, thank you for that question. Can I answer that? You see, Zakka, that is not, it's a question not expected of you. This is a vibrant democracy. This democracy is run by constitutional standards. And under the constitutional standards of procedure, you have institutional supremacy and constitutional supremacy.
These people, no, Shabnam, the people who died last night, don't they have constitutional rights? No, hang on.
Unless and until the Supreme Court does not state,
if
you will
these
have
7
to
people,
follow
Shabnam Lone, one second, Shabnam Lone, these 7 people who died last night, don't they have constitutional rights? Don't they have Article 21, the right to life and liberty? Or is that only meant for the Farooq Ahmed Dars of the world?
Don't use their death to cite that judgment. You cannot, I protest, you cannot use their death to defend Major Gogoi. Major Gogoi is not that
I'm saying, if you, no, I'm sorry.
Don't do it.
I will not have this double standard on the show. On the one hand, on the one hand, you cry hoarse about the human rights of Farooq Ahmed Dar. What about the human rights of the people who died? The 7 people who died, they were pilgrims. They were pilgrims. They were unarmed. They were on a religious pilgrimage. Don't they have human rights?
Now you see,
don't they have human rights?
SHRC is recommendatory in nature.
I'm sorry.
Okay,
Gohar Gilani.
Yes,
Gohar
SHRC
Gilani.
is recommendatory in nature.
I'm sorry, you cannot have this both ways.
We do not agree to give the compensation.
The killing
they can't
of
have
pilgrims.
Standards.
The killing of pilgrims is a direct attack on Kashmiriyat, and not one Kashmiri should condone this.
Cannot give compensation.
Not one Kashmiri should draw this false equivalence between what happened last night and the human rights of Farooq Ahmed Dar, the stone pelter who got tied to the bonnet of a jeep. I'm sorry. Human rights extends also to the people who died last night, Gohar Gilani.
No, Goga is not as important as the lives of those
let Gohar Gilani respond.
Don't use their death.
Let Gohar Gilani respond. Let Gohar Gilani respond.
Okay. That's fine, Zakka.
First of all, I must tell you that entire Kashmir civil society, I was part of that protest, the sit-in protests from traders' bodies to journalists to teenagers to students to women and children. Everybody was at Srinagar's Pratap Park, and everybody unequivocally condemned and deplored in strongest possible words the attack on Amarnath pilgrims. As you were yourself saying that it has happened after a gap of 17 years, and there was this understanding also that nobody would ever touch yatris. So it has been condemned. So it is, if you see the social media response, the indicators are civil society response. Everybody has condemned it. The way they also condemned the lynching of DSP.
So
that is one. But
I think the time has come to go beyond condemnation, Gohar. Gohar, I think the time has come to go beyond condemnation.
Okay.
I mean, again I ask you. One sec. Again, I ask you, Gohar. You said, and I said this at the top of the show as well. There was this unsaid understanding, an unwritten understanding for 17 years, and Kashmir has been through a lot in the last 17 years. Nobody touched the yatris. I want to know from you what changed last night. What changed in that unsaid, unwritten understanding? And if something has changed, then the response should also change. The response should not be restricted to mere condemnation.
See, Zakka, I was in Mumbai last week, this whole week, and I came from Delhi, and in the flight I was traveling in was full of Amarnath Yatris from Jharkhand. They had these, red T-shirts which had printed on them that they are Amarnath Yatris from Jharkhand, and it was a huge group, and they were so enthusiastic to come because Yatra has gone on, and that's something which all of us should welcome. That this has not deterred anyone from the show, as they say, must go on. But I want to make a larger point, and that is, when you say somebody is an innocent, you should have the same yardstick. You see how people are being lynched in India. So what about the idea of India then? What about the idea of India then when Babri Masjid is demolished?
No,
when
we
Gujarat
have
program
condemned the
happens, you can't
lynchings
have
on
it
this
both
channel,
ways.
on this
so
program.
You have to see the larger picture.
Go ahead. We have condemned those lynchings.
Let me complete.
We have condemned those lynchings on this channel, on this program.
Today there is a moral question for Indian civil society. If Kashmir civil society has the guts to come openly against these acts which they see as inhuman, where is Indian civil society when they see 2,000 Kashmiri boys being piloted? Where are they when they see 120 civilians killed? Where are they when civilians are killed near encounter sites?
Didn't you see
so
and
hear?
That is the
hypocrisy of Indian civil society.
Didn't you see and
hear
the not in my name protest? It was against the lynching.
It was against the lynching.
What I'm asking you is, and you still are refusing to answer my question.
Where was the Indian
this
society?
understanding was there in Kashmiri civil society. If that has changed last night, I want to know why it has changed, and I want to know what the response of Kashmiri society is going to be to that change. That response cannot be the same old condemnation. Let me get Sanjay Jha also in. Sanjay Jha.
It has been a very vibrant response and a very mature response from the people of Jammu and Kashmir, from which the Indian civil society can take a lead.
Sanjay Jha. I am all for opposition asking questions of the government. You have every right to protest, every right to dissent. But less than 24 hours since this attack, the bodies hadn't even reached their native places. Should the Congress party, Rahul Gandhi, your media cell in charge, come out and ask questions of, whether this was handled well, handled badly, security lapses, Prime Minister should resign, Home Minister should resign, NSA should resign? I mean, there is of course a time and place for politics. I'm all for it. But within 24 hours of such a huge tragedy? Really, Sanjay?
Zakka, can I be very honest with you? Don't consider this as politics. I think what we are doing is what any responsible opposition should do. Look at the data. I heard the BJP spokesperson talk about data. Can he tell the people of India and all the viewers of CNN News 18 right now that ever since Mr. Modi has come into government, and Zakka, that they don't even listen, they don't at all care for the
number of terrorists.
There have been over 200 soldiers of India who have been killed on the borders. Mr. Rao, please don't speak. Mr. Rao, please don't speak. I didn't interrupt you. Let's have a civilized chat right now. We are discussing a serious and a grave issue here. There are over 200 soldiers killed. There are over 100 civilians murdered in cold blood by terrorists. There have been roughly 14 to 15 terror attacks in India, if you include what happens in Punjab and the LOC. The government of the day only makes this loud rhetoric. There is a hyper-nationalistic rhetoric we hear all the time. I mean, I'll give you an example here. End of day, what have we heard from the BJP? They keep criticizing the PDP in Jammu and Kashmir without telling the people of India that they are in government in Jammu and Kashmir as well as the center. If intelligence inputs are available with you on June 25th, somebody has to take responsibility today and say, well, we failed. This was not a security lapse, you failed. You asked a right and a very pertinent question. Does this government have the right to continue in Jammu and Kashmir? I mean, there are people dying. End of day, can you deny the fact that there is a raging anger there, which was manifested when Muhammad Ayub Pandit and honest officers were lynched to death?
I think at some level, at some level, while I don't agree, one sec, while I don't agree with Sanjay Jha and the Congress party choosing to play politics within 24 hours of this grave tragedy, some of those questions are valid. At the end of the day, shouldn't there be some amount of accountability? I mean, isn't it obvious as daylight that this coalition is untenable? I mean, the basic duty of the state is to protect the citizens, sir. And Mehbooba Mufti's government has failed in that, I'm sorry.
No, Zakka, I think let me first refute his statement. Sanjay Jha giving wrong statistics. Let me give from Times of India 2 days ago. In 2012, in 2013, 67 terrorists were killed. And in 2016, more than 2.5 times that number were killed, more than 150 terrorists. So obviously there has been a hot pursuit. We have been wanting to really end this problem, but when you are actually chasing terrorists, when you are in a hot pursuit, and desperation will certainly, they will try and hit back. And this attack is something that ought to have been averted. I am accepting it on the show. No, but to expect that terrorists will not even attempt to strike back at you when they are running with their backs towards the wall, I think that is also an exaggeration. Syed Salahuddin was named a global terrorist only a couple of weeks ago. And that has led to a lot of consternation. That has led to a lot of frustration and desperation. On the one hand, you are flushing out terrorists. You are following an offensive approach at the borders, preventing infiltration, and you are cornering Pakistan and Syed Salahuddin's internationally. So there is desperation on their part.
Okay.
But why is there a political desperation in Indian political parties not to stand by the country? Not to stand by the security forces. Please cut out the mumbo jumbo, Mr. Rao. Cut out the mumbo jumbo.
No, one sec. You know, I'll say I'll only say this much. I'll only say this much that I think if anybody thinks that Mehbooba Mufti can continue in office despite one attack after another, I think last night should have really been the straw that broke the camel's back. But if anybody feels that it's okay and the government is tenable and will continue, I think that's living in some kind of alternate reality, like the Pakistanis are. So welcome to the program, Shafqat Saeed. Sorry for keeping you waiting, though. You know, I'm just curious. Every major country in the region, in the world, all of India's neighbors, Nepal, Bhutan, Afghanistan, Sri Lanka, you name it, has issued a statement of condemnation. But Pakistan hasn't. Why? Was last night's killing okay? Was last night's killing justified? I mean,
Zakka,
what would it take to get a full...
I'm not representative of the government. Don't take me as a government representative, but let me tell you, we all Pakistani are grieved on this loss of life, and especially of unarmed civilians who are on a religious pilgrimage. And pilgrims are not supposed to be target. And people who are involved in worship and who are unarmed, which include women and children, they are absolutely not target.
No, sir, one sec. Let me just draw this distinction. Because the last time, I think it was some months ago, when there was this major attack at a Sufi shrine in Sindh, in Sehwan, the government of India, the Ministry of External Affairs, put out a statement condemning it. They were also unarmed pilgrims. They were also religious pilgrims who were unarmed. Why wouldn't the government of Pakistan, why wouldn't the Foreign Office put out a statement condemning what happened last night?
Zakka, I'm in your program as a defense analyst, not as a representative of Foreign Ministry or Government of Pakistan.
I know that. All I'm saying is just look at the distinction. When your pilgrims were killed in Sehwan, there was an official statement by the government of India. Today, there are official statements from the US, UK, Canada, Australia, all the neighbors in the region, except
Zakka,
Pakistan,
I think either maybe it is not known to you, or maybe they have done it by now.
No, they haven't.
They should have done it
by
now. I'm sure they must have done it.
They haven't done it. They haven't done it.
There's
a good reason why they haven't done it. But anyway, we'll get to that later. All I'm saying is this. This attack too, the finger of suspicion is on a man named Abu Ismail. He's the South Kashmir commander of the Lashkar-e-Taiba. He's a Pakistani national.
He is not from any sort of any Lashkar or freedom movement. I tell you, anybody who is in this freedom movement is a nobleman, and he would not do anything so sheepishly coward and callous act. He would not do anything like that.
So
especially somebody who is on a pilgrim, he is not supposed to be targeted.
You agree that last
night targeted by a Muslim.
You agree that last night's act was a cowardly act.
Very cowardly act. Very cowardly act.
You agree that this is not freedom or whatever it is that they are fighting for.
It goes against our freedom movement real soul. It is against the very soul of the freedom movement.
Okay.
Kashmiris are not fighting against the Indian people. They are fighting for their freedom,
So then
that's all.
why doesn't Pakistan then hand over this man? He's a Pakistani national, Abu Ismail. Why doesn't Pakistan hand over this man?
You should ask for him if you feel he is involved. But I think, you know, you are all bent on bringing world against Pakistan. And I would tell you that there was a lot of effort that some sort of escalation occurs between the pilgrims and the people, because Indian flags were being waved in the populated areas where people would pellet stones on them or they would get angry. But people showed a lot of restraint and they did not react.
No,
and I would tell you that the people of Kashmir, whether from Pakistani side or from Kashmir or anybody, even and somebody who has gone to fight in Kashmir from Pakistan.
No, Lieutenant Colonel, that is because of
anything like this.
Lieutenant Colonel,
This
that
is
is because
very
of the
cowardly.
resilience of the Indian people. The Indian people are smart enough to see through this game being done by the likes of the Lashkar-e-Taiba.
No,
and
you are
all I
smart
have is a
enough to
simple
enact
request. All I have is a simple request. If you feel that this is against your religion, this is against whatever jihad is being fought in Kashmir, then please hand over Abu Ismail. It'll be the greatest favor your country can do to India.
Name coined into this activity. No, his name has been coined into it. Let me tell you,
what do you mean by coined into
it? No, we will not shout. We will talk like gentlemen.
Of course, we will talk like
turn by
gentlemen.
turn.
We will talk like gentlemen.
We would not interrupt each other. We would not interrupt each other.
No, but what do you mean?
Like to put words in each other's
what do you
mouth.
mean he's coined into this? What do you mean he's coined
now
into
listen
this?
to me what I mean. Now listen to me. It is just a replay of 26/11, only with different motives. In 26/11, the aim was to knock out Karkare, who knew too much about the secret subsurface element of Hindutva and
I thought we could have a conversation. I'm sorry.
He had been meeting foreigners, he
Major
had been
Arya,
meeting Europeans and Americans.
No, I'm
now,
sorry.
Please listen to me.
This is
Zakka,
something.
now
This is some wild conspiracy theory. This is some wild conspiracy theory. Of course it is. The courts in India have thrown out such cases.
Please read those affidavits which were submitted by Satish Verma in the High Court.
Zakka, we have
Please
heard
read
this
that.
enough from
Initial
the Pakistani panelists
read
on the
the detail
channel.
of attack on Samjhauta
This
Express.
rhetoric from Pakistan will carry on.
Zakka,
What
this
we
is
need
not
to understand in
What
our
do we need to do?
what we need to do is, first of all, we have to identify and formulate a very comprehensive strategy. There are two clear elements of terrorism in Kashmir Valley. One is the Pakistani element which is perpetrated across the border, and the second is a valley local element. You yourself said that the terrorists were supported by 3 local Kashmiri youth. We are unable to comprehend the complete strategy how to deal with it. There has been, as the driver's statement has been on the record, there has been lapses in the conduct part of it while he was deducting. Checkpost was attacked immediately before the bus was attacked. So this bus became an opportunity target for those terrorists who were lurking around. So there has been some sort of a security lapses also. Unfortunately, the people or who is responsible for the understanding the issue, they are not been able to sit together and coherently fathom the complexity of the situation in the valley which has developed over past 1.5 years.
Gilani, if 3 local boys helped Abu Ismail carry out last night's dastardly attack, I want to know for what cause have they done this? I mean, do those local boys also represent Kashmiriyat, Gawhar Gilani?
No, they didn't do it.
See, Zakka, can I respond? You have to see there are too many loopholes in this investigation as of now. Nothing has come out. Even Lashkar-e-Taiba has said that they are not involved in the attack. Hurriyat has condemned it, and there have been incidents like Chatti Singhpura and Pathribal and other things. So there are so many murky details which one has to wait until the investigation is over.
No, what are you saying?
Where it is going? Where is yesterday's attack and
Chatti Singhpura? What connection are you trying to make?
What I'm saying is that in Pathribal, the Indian army killed 5 innocent people and dubbed them
Gawhar,
as
come on.
foreign
I
terrorists.
thought you were better than
the
this.
CBI report established
Gawhar, I thought you were better than this.
I thought Gawhar will talk
I thought you were better than
something
this.
sensible.
I thought you were better than this, Gawhar.
No one has been punished.
I'm sorry. I thought you were better than this.
No,
I asked you a simple question.
Go through IGs.
I asked you a simple question.
Mr. Munir Khan, IG.
I've got that letter, yes.
Look at his statement.
Yes, I've got that letter.
He first said that the attack was not meant against. Huh? Sorry, did you go through his statement?
I've gone through his statement. I've got his letter from June 25th as well, talking about a specific terror threat to the Amarnath Yatra, and yet nothing happened. No, but I think you're making a very
when this attack happened,
Zakka,
very wrong, I don't know, bizarre connection between
Zakka,
this and
I have a
Chhattisgarh.
submission.
I'm sorry. Yes. All I asked you was, this could not have happened without local help. What were those local boys fighting for? What sort of azadi is this, Colonel Pillai? I mean, what sort of jihad is this that kills innocent pilgrims, unarmed pilgrims?
Absolutely. This even Quran prohibits. Abu Bakr has said the tenets of Prophet Muhammad is not to attack any pilgrims. So it's against the tenets of Islam. Like I told you, it's a very clearly a design of Pakistan, which has failed by all other means to get Kashmir. Now they have their proxies which are fighting them. So it's either fear or favor or inducement or whatever. Those locals are inducted into this. What we must understand is that there is a game going on here. Pakistan has its strategy and we have our strategy. We have our strength and they have their weaknesses. They exist on using terror, and they have been singled out in the whole world for this. So, and it is definitely a state that is doomed for failure. There is no doubt about it. It's already split into two parts. They've not looked after their own people in Balochistan and Farah and other areas. So here, crying for resignation and everything. If somebody scores a goal in a football match, you don't change the goalkeeper. We need to hold and strengthen our democratic process that is there and believe in it. And if you look at the 1,000 cuts, the bleeding by 1,000 cuts policy, we have had a very clear change in our policy when we went in for the cross-border surgical strikes. Now that deep state has been recognized, which is providing for these non-state actors to act in India, we need to work internationally to isolate and expose them, which we are doing very well. So there's no point in getting agitated about a war. This country doesn't need to go to war to sort out a small little country like Pakistan.
Shafqat Saeed, the surgical strike should have sorted out this bleeding by 1,000 cuts issue a long time ago. It seems like your country. It seems like your country needs more harsher treatment.
It is very you please attack Pakistan. I would tell you, don't kill your own people. Don't try, have guts and do it yourself.
No,
don't really.
What do you mean have guts and do it yourself?
You do it.
What do you think happened in 65? What do you think happened in 71?
Not a camera.
What do you think happened in 1999?
Please cross the border.
Need I remind you?
We kept
Lieutenant
searching
Colonel,
and we could not find it. Either it was a microscopic surgical strike or it was not a surgical strike. You did it only in your own area, in front of camera.
Your SP Mirpur range confirmed to this channel surgical strikes have taken place. Forget about what everybody else is saying.
Don't kill your own people.
I'm asking you a simple question. One second.
Just to really world around you.
One second.
And you have
hang on. The Pakistani state is killing Balochi people. The Pakistani state is killing Kashmiri people. The Pakistani state is killing Sindhi people.
No,
so let's not get into that. The Pakistani state is killing Shias, Ahmadiyas.
You kill three.
Hang on. I'm asking you a simple question. Lieutenant Colonel, what sort of civilized country would not even put out a statement, a cursory statement? What sort of civilized country would not put out a cursory statement condemning what happened last night in Anantnag?
Please don't question my being civilized.
If you want to fight Pakistan, you are not civilized. You are not a civilized country.
Don't make reason for that.
You are not a civilized country. Any civilized country would have put out a statement of condemnation.
Please attack Pakistan and do a surgical strike and see what happens then.
No,
please don't kill Yatris.
You will soon realize. You will soon realize, Shafqat Saeed. You will soon realize, just like you did. No, hang on. Just like you did in 65, just like you did in 71, and just like you did in 1999. You will soon realize the might of the Indian Defence Forces.
900,000.
I'm going to get closing comments from both GVL and from Sanjay Jha.
That was not
GVL,
a comparison.
I come back. No, hang on. I come back to the domestic aspect of this. No. I've got to get closing comments. GVL and to Sanjay Jha.
Like 2611.
I think I mean, I'm not exaggerating one bit when I say that the mood in the street, the mood in this country is one that is saying that, look, whatever it is that the government needs to do, whatever it is that our defense forces need to do, we need to settle this once and for all. We can't be bleeding by this 1,000 cuts every 6 months and then suddenly there's a wake-up call and there's a surgical strike and then 6 months later there's another dastardly attack. GVL.
No, Zakka, I think exactly it is this approach which has been unfolding over the past year, and it's really giving results. But you have an attack like this which ought to have been averted, which is honestly a price we have paid for hot pursuit of the terrorists in the valley, and there is desperation on the part of Pakistan, and is doing its last bit efforts.
GVL, will you assure GVL, will you assure our viewers that whatever lapses there were, accountability will be fixed for it, whether it's at the bureaucratic level or whether it's at the political level? I'm asking you a straight question.
No, Zakka, certainly, okay, these are security. This government has given complete free hand to the security forces. When 6 policemen were killed in Kashmir about a month ago, within a manner of a week or 10 days, the militants or terrorists who carried out that operation were eliminated, were neutralized. So certainly this government and the security forces will not rest until justice is done for the victims of this Amarnath attack.
Sanjay.
And this government will not take anything lying down. We will continue to raise the stakes. We will continue to inflict damage.
Sanjay Jha, 30 seconds, closing comments.
Yeah. Zakka, I'm appalled that the BJP spokesperson here is saying as if Indian lives being lost will be collateral damage for their so-called policy of hot pursuit. I think that's a terrible spin that they are trying today. They should stop doing that. They should respect those who have died. And the second point, you know, the truth is Mr. Modi's government has been a monumental failure in national security. You'll remember, Zakka, after 2008 Mumbai attacks, when Mr. Chidambaram was the Home Minister, we moved for a national counter-terrorism center and the national grid, critical assets that we need to develop to fight terror. The BJP delayed it on account of cooperative federalism, blah, blah, blah. 3 years in government, they have done nothing to strengthen the basic, robust anti-terror infrastructure.
Okay,
I think innocent people in India are dying because the government doesn't have a policy.
I'm going to wrap. All I'll say as I wrap up is this, that I think, you know, I mean, like I said, when the brigade headquarters in Uri was attacked, it was a red line. That red line got crossed and there was a consequence. Pakistan was made to understand that there is a price to pay. I guess that time has come again. The attack on the Amarnath Yatra, on the Yatris, is yet another red line that has been crossed. I hope and pray and I wish that there will be a consistent, long-term, deterrent policy that will stop the enemy from continuing to bleed us by 1,000 cuts. And in that hope, we wait. I'm going to take a break. As I thank all my guests, I'm going to take a break. When we come back on the other side, this whole will he, won't he business is continuing. The BCCI, after a dramatic evening, yet to now say officially who's going to be the next Team India coach. This after some media reports suggested that it was a done deal and that Ravi Shastri will get the job till the 2019 World Cup. Details when we return. There's a new twist in the tale as the selection dilemma surrounding the next head coach for Team India continues after the BCCI decided to keep mum till the final verdict. Sources have confirmed that former team director Ravi Shastri is the favourite for the top job. It's almost a done deal. He's already been informed of his appointment by the Indian Cricket Board, but in an informal meeting in the national capital, the BCCI's acting secretary Amitabh Chaudhary confirmed that no final decision has been made yet by the 3-member Cricket Advisory Committee, and that a decision will likely be announced only later once they confer with the captain Virat Kohli, who's on holiday now in the US. I mean, why don't they just get done with this already? Virat Kohli's made it amply clear that he wants Ravi Shastri for the job. Why don't they just give him the job? That's a wrap of Face Off. In case you want to leave your opinion on that story or anything else you've seen on this broadcast, you can go to our website, news18.com. On the other side, Viewpoint with Bhupen Chaubey.
कुछ नहीं बचा मेरे पास।
जब तक फिर से सर्जिकल स्ट्राइक नहीं होगा तब तक ये आतंकवादियों को पता नहीं चलेगा।
आपने फिर उसके बाद भगाई गाड़ी?
उसके बाद मैंने गाड़ी भगाई, मेरे साथ जो बाजू में कैबिन में बैठे थे उनको 3 गोली लगी है।